Hello, my name is Justin. See here the dates for the LMS Spring Playoffs, happening on the same weekend as North America, coincidentally. But the two teams that have the highest chance of taking it all right here today, Flash Wolves versus AHQ. And these are two teams that have been around in the LMS scene for a while now. LMS, of course, not as popular here in the West. They don't normally have an English broadcast. So that's what I'm hoping to bring to you here today. A little bit more about myself. I am a play-by-play caster by trade, so I am looking for a color caster to round out these broadcasts a little bit more. And again, we'll have to see if I'm able to do this, as there might be some issues with the recording rights, with the video rights that Garena or Riot may hold on this YouTube channel. But for now, I'm just going to be recording over the YouTube bots that they've posted. And in case you didn't know, LMS is actually played in best of twos. So there will be two games here today. AHQ right now in first place in the LMS, undefeated. They do have a few draws on their record, but no losses so far. And second place is the Flash Wolves. A little bit further behind, I believe they're at something like 9 wins, 3 losses, and 2 draws at the time of this game, of course. Unfortunately, I'm not going to go check the stats because I don't want to spoil the results of this match for myself. But either way, it should be a very, very exciting one, and probably one very anticipated too, between the first and second place teams. And that's the Zeta and LeBlanc band away against Maple. Obviously, we know who AHQ respects on the enemy team. The mention of an Italy right here seems like either team might be looking to pick her up, as she has not been banned out yet. Flash Wolves still has one chance left here. They're not going to go for, going for the Gragas and Graves ban so far. And the last one's going to be Alistair, actually. Okay, saying that Elise and Italy are both still available, and there was a third champion. I didn't quite catch the name. I'm not really familiar with all of the Chinese names of the champions here. Apparently not picking Ezreal from the Flash Wolves is a bit unusual from the side of Never Loses. But Sivir is very strong right now in the meta, after those buffs to her Ricochet. And there's also a question of what the Flash Wolves will come up with to go against this Poppy here, but they're not going to be picking their top lane, as their enemy has already played their hand. So instead, we'll see the Sivir and the Thresh pick up. Flash Wolves letting me go for those two to take those away from the enemy team. They're looking for RD to pick up a Lucian here. Or maybe later on down the line. Not in this rotation, as the jungler is going to come out now for HQ, hovering over the Elise. Kog'Maw also a very strong pick of RD's, apparently. And I haven't heard much about RD, as he is new to the team. The rest of the names I do recognize. Azir's counters are banned right here, so that is going to be the locket for Azir, and Kindred actually. And Kindred was the last name that they did drop earlier, just a few seconds ago, when they were talking about available junglers. And that's Kindred away for HQ. Lulu coming out here. An okay pick against Poppy.
要对上 Ziv 这种一线的上路选手来说，拼操作感觉上是有点难度的。你要来拼两边 jungle 来互打2打2，这个风险又很高，那就干脆选一个露露来稳哦。
Also, Lulu offers quite a bit in the 2v2 top jungle matchup against the likes of Poppy and Kindred.
对，这边如果露露是要走上路的话，就看一下 Maple 要补什么角色，因为看起来这边还是缺一个算是比较偏攻击性的英雄哦。对，这边的韦恩这种。
Okay, and they're missing a little bit of engage on the side of Flash Wolves if if Lulu decides to go top with Mimi Dan. But RD actually hovering over the Vayne. I'm not sure about that pick against the likes of Flash Wolves' team comp right now, but perhaps a specialty champion for him here. And Lucian, like we talked about before. And the Braum. Very strong combination here. Let's see if they go for it. Okay, that's Lucian Braum locked in for AHQ. Their team comp now finished. We'll have to see what Sword Art decides to pick for his team here, as we are missing either a top or a mid lane champion. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that Lulu actually go top against the Poppy if it really is that good of a matchup for them, as the casters had pointed out earlier.
如果有两边的弱势边的话，对方很容易带风向哦。没有错。但现在中路的 Maple 其实手中还有 GP， 对，刚讲完就选了啊，这个 GP 拿了出来。那闪亮的中路 Maple 如果拿 GP，
hypothesizing that Maple would go for the Gangplank here, but doesn't? Huh?
这边他们在错位，其实这样角色也是有错位过的。
Okay, it's possible they could switch off here. Apparently. Maple's Gangplank not that common apparently, but okay. Let's see if this is the final choice here. Gangplank up in the top lane against the Poppy and Maple with the Lulu. No doubt a decent matchup into almost any champion in the mid lane, especially with the likes of Zed banned away. Or these very heavy damage assassin champions. Of course, Lulu, probably one of the best counters to those kind of picks early on. But we'll have to see if MMD actually gets that matchup. I highly doubt that Flash Wolves would be looking for the 2v2 versus such an impressive bottom lane composition in Lucian and Braum.
做这个 AHQ 野区的视野，然后就突然有两个加速，希维尔跟露露直接进来，再来打这个小头。这个加速的这个。
And they're talking about the engage potential right now of Flash Wolves' composition, with both Lulu and Saber offering substantial speed ups to their team.
那 AHQ 这边的下路双人线，其实以布朗姆来说，一个冰河裂隙的大绝可以切断掉对方加速冲牌。我觉得这个布朗姆的 pick 选的还不错，没有错。
And the Braum pick, a very good answer to that.
蛮优秀的。
With Glacial Fissure to stop the advance, if it ever happens. But we do have Cannon Barrage to stop the retreat as well, and round out that strategy from the side of the Flash Wolves. Okay, it's going to depend a lot on the junglers and the bottom lanes here to get things rolling. Although I can definitely see Shawi being a pivotal point for his team here, as I just don't see that same kind of carry potential out of a Lulu pick. But MMD is going to have to get ahead here in order to be as useful to his team as they would like him to be. If he's not able to get ahead and get those items early, his team is going to be lacking sorely in damage. They may be able to get on top of their enemy, but it won't do them any good if they can't finish them off. I've never actually seen that Azir animation. That is hilarious. And the lane swap coming out from Flash Wolves.
拿着你这个聚集速度上面的优势来打这个地图。
而且 Clement 之前也有跟我提过，是希维尔线路打开这条线之后，就可以利用了加速之后来做一个4人的强抓哦。即便刚普朗克不要参战，但是放那个加农炮弹幕的这个支援来说，伤害面也足够。
我在猜这边 Maple 跟咪咪蛋可能两边有这个开制定，互选刚普朗练过，
互炸看看。对。
Okay, and the buddy system starting off for the Flash Wolves here. possibly see the same thing from the enemy side as they actually start on opposite sides of the map, but that's Poppy splitting off towards the top lane. I don't think that AHQ knows of the lane swap from the sides of the Flash Wolves here, because Kindred's going to continue on by herself. Okay, Chawi taking a little bit of a chunk right there from Maple. Okay, Poppy finds the enemy AD carry. Sword Art gonna come in here to try to see Kindred, but drops a ward, doesn't find anybody. But that's Ziv backing way off after he finds out he's been duped.
那中路这条线的话，我觉得是刚开始应该是打不太出什么东西来。阿奇尔这边看起来是有一些推兵的优势。看到了三狼区域的整体野怪已经被净空了 ，Albus 拼出了这一块是刚刚有人的。
And Azir is pushed way up, but he does have Albus in the jungle to scout for him.
杀兵来压血量，对。
And they don't see Gangplank at all, so I think it's very unlikely that they would be expecting a gank from Flash Wolves, as they know that Gangplank is buddied up with the Lee Sin. And that Lee Sin is quite underleveled at this point in the game. But that's going to be Mimi Dan joining up with his team right here. And apparently the pristine example of Taiwanese tower push meta right here, as both teams make it to their respective turrets. And that's actually going to be 4 people from the side of AHQ devoted to taking down this early turret here. 3 people up top, but Flash Wolf was able to arise much earlier than their opponents. So that may even it up for them here, as Lee Sin instead going to elect to get some more farm for himself. Quite a bit far behind Kindred, as he wasn't able to pick up those solo camps early on, instead electing to give some to MMD, or at least. Okay, that is the turret down though. They're not able to get quite the freeze that they wanted. Ziv gonna do a much better job of bouncing the wave here. But here comes the mid lane gank on Chawi. He is slowed. Sword Art walking forward though. Does he have the hook though? He flashes to try to land the hook instead, but Chawi has the E to get over the wall. Good reaction by Chawi. Apparently a little bit of miscommunication right there from Flash Wolves, as they didn't appear at the same time, Karsa and Sword Art. I think Sword Art did show up a little bit too early, giving Chawi the hint to start walking towards that wall to make his escape. But Mountain, not having had to waste his time trying to set up an unsuccessful gank, now 10 CS ahead in the jungle. And a level up as well, although he was missing a little bit of experience from that double jungle that happened earlier. Or Karsa is, rather. And now both lanes having swapped around again to try to take down their other turrets. Flash Wolves, this time the first to make it to their enemy turret. But now with the man advantage, AHQ is going to do the same to the top turret here. And I really do believe they have enough minions to take this one down without any fault in their steps. As there's the second wave there. And that's actually Gangplank, the top laner, instead helping out. Poppy not really able to do much besides farm some parrots, or farm some chickens for herself. And again, the nice bounce back from RD here. I think they were able to do the same down for the Flash Wolves, but that gives Flash Wolves the window to go into the Dragon. AHQ taking a smart move and going to secure the Rift Herald for themselves instead. And we'll have to see what AHQ is able to do with that Rift Herald, actually, as mid lane's obviously not going to be falling anytime soon. And with both outer turrets down, they're going to have to pick an inner turret here. Much more difficult to pull off at this point in the game. Yeah, they really want to go for that second inner turret. Or for that first inner turret, rather. But apparently that, if you show your hand like that this early in the game, puts you at a disadvantage. We'll have to see what they decide to go for here, as that's Kindred making her way down the bottom lane with the Rift Herald buff. And that displays their strategy very clearly for the Flash Wolves to see. We'll have to see what they decide to go for here. Sivir is back up top, and Sivir pushes very, very quickly, even at this low level. Lee Sin is on that side of the jungle, taking the long way around. But he's not going to find Poppy in there, as Poppy is staying very safe against the side of her lane. But that is indeed the hard push from both teams, actually. Flash Wolves with a very nice reaction here. They're going to also have 3 members down. They don't have the Rift Herald buff, but that tower is still falling extremely quickly. And these turrets are so fragile. This is an inner turret, it's not an outer turret. Those outer turrets were definitely much harder to take down. And yet only 2-3 levels later, that's inner turrets down for both teams now. 7 minutes and 30 seconds onto the inhibitor turret as AHQ has not stopped, and neither have the Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves have an extra man down here as Braum was forced to back out. Actually, Braum swapping out for Ziv in the Poppy, who might push a little bit faster, but it doesn't look like AHQ is winning this one too much. And you can see right there, Flash Wolves is matching pace very nicely with AHQ, but they don't have that buff. Perhaps that buff is the saving grace for them, but of course it doesn't matter that Albus is back to defend because he can't do anything. That's inhibitors down for both teams at 8 minutes in the game. And wow, Flash Wolves having their hand forced by these crazy movements from AHQ, but actually not falling behind at all. Very nice moves from both teams here, but I don't think they were quite ideal. I don't think either team had in mind these early inhibitor takes. This is going to screw up their strategy for their top laners, especially on the side of Flash Wolves. Definitely wanting Gangplank to get ahead early, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do that if he's forced to fend off all of these super minions super early. On second thought, it does give Flash Wolves the map pressure advantage, as Gangplank will be able to make an impact from the other side of the map and get all that farm for himself if he's able to hold off these super minions, that is, at melee range. And he does already have a little bit of a CS lead, and I can only imagine that will grow, as Poppy's actually double teaming with Kindred right now to try to get some experience and farm. Oh, they did send out the ghosties. Maple looking for somebody here. He will find Mountain. Glitterlance catches him. That's a lot of damage. Holy crap. AHQ Mountain forced to run away. Or walk away right here. Maple's speed up wearing off. He's not going to chase that one. Pointing out that Ziv was also spotted right there due to that little mishap. And so that gives Flash Wolves the intel that Ziv really not having a good early game here. Actually, Gangplank getting much better of a trade from those early map moves, as he's getting quite far ahead in farm. They're actually putting a lot of thought into this gank attempt, or this catch attempt by Maple earlier. But here's what I'm talking about. MMD, he has to fight these super minions in melee range, and instead he's forced to use the Nexus turrets as bait to try to avoid dying to these super minions this early on. RD having much better luck here, using his range to his advantage, no doubt. But that's actually a quarter of the health down from the Nexus turret at 10 minutes into the game. Not ideal for the Flash Wolves. That will regenerate slowly, now down to 2/3. Yet MMD can't afford to tank up these minions at all. He has to use the tower to help him out, because he can't stand behind his minions when he's trying to do damage to them. Okay, Mountain and Albus looking for something on the blue side jungle. But Flash Wolves returning the favor on the side of AHQ. And Chawi ever playing the scary game right here, as he's ever conscious of that gank opportunity that Karsa may try to enforce here on the mid lane. And here it goes, Sword Art missing the hook, not timing that teleport just right. Almost grabbing that, actually. Very nicely predicted, just not nice enough. They would have been looking for the ultimate Lee Sin word hop kick gank right there. Level 7 and not had a chance to gank anybody at all at this point.
而且他要怎么样交换资源，他都是事前有想到的。那这里只是很可惜，我觉得 AHQ 也算是有点侥幸成分啊。老实说
A lot of praise right here for Sword Out's planning and general strategy and map movement. No doubt the shot caller on his team. No, the ping's going down onto the Rift Herald. Dragon's not spawning yet for another 8 seconds, but it looks like that's going to be the trade, this time in the opposite direction. And we'll have to see if Flash Wolves is able to do better than what AHQ was able to pull off with their own Rift Herald buff. Maybe this time actually get an advantage instead of an even trade. Or to manage not to screw over their top laner. Poppy now a solid 33 CS down behind her opponent, Gangplank. Not having the best early game, but not the worst either. I'm sure he'll be happy with what has happened after that crazy inhibitor trade. And AHQ not able to take that dragon either. Did get the Scuttlecrab, but they're going to have to try again after this one, as instead they want to look for the fight on towards Flash Wolves, who have been loitering quite a while now around this topside jungle even after the Rift Herald is gone. And Night Lord takes quite a few pokes from Chawi right there. Chawi is forced to go back, but Flash Wolves aren't making any moves down towards the dragon. I think that's going to give AHQ freedom here, as Lee Sin instead electing to try to get some counter jungling off. And so they do get the trade out because Flash Wolves electing not to play aggressively after grabbing that Rift Herald. I actually don't know who the buff went onto either, as neither Never Loses nor Sword Art have it. Lulu very, very far in, though. I think that's going to be pulling back Albus right now. Yeah, he's walking towards her. The Lulu showing her face right there, maybe in an attempt to draw some members of the enemy team away, because I really doubt she was planning on staying that far in. Okay, that was actually the buff onto Karsa. We spent a lot of the next few minutes in the jungle instead. I'm not really sure what was going on with that. But here's the blue buff contest from Karsa. It does get spotted by a ward. And Albus is having not a lot of fun here trying to donate this blue buff over to Azir. But Flash Wolves do back off, give them a little bit of breathing room. But maybe that's not what they needed to do, as Chawi certainly is not in need of any breathing room right now. 40 CS up on his opponent, with no lane swap shenanigans to give him an advantage either, doing very well. As in Azir. Of course, Azir doesn't exactly have a very difficult laning phase, if played correctly. Oh, Night Lord again, always finding himself on the tip of his spear right there, or Chawi's soldier's spears. Already making his life miserable, and they haven't even had an actual team fight yet. Ooh, and that was actually a very crucial delay onto Night Lord, as that will give them the freedom to push into mid lane, forcing the cannon barrage out of Gangplank to stop that push. Never Loses will be back for the next push, but that's a big cooldown from the side of Flash Wolves. I don't know if they're planning on fighting anytime soon, though. 15 minutes in, no kills on either side, 4 turrets and 1 dragon each. Those are some very, very high objective numbers. 1 Rift Herald each, too, not noted in the stats. But so far, no scrappiness that a lot of people were talking about on Reddit. Apparently, Taiwan combines the best of the lane swaps with the best of the team fights. So far, we've really only seen one of them. Granted, it was one aspect turned to the extremes now. Both inhibitors finally back up. Actually, probably back up for a while. But that does reset the game a little bit here. And unfortunately for Ziv and Maple, though, it's not going to reset their farm scores. Both 50 CS down over their opponents, or under their opponents. So far, we haven't seen how that affects their team fight just yet. And RD and Albus looking for the pick on top of the ward. Not gonna find it, of course. And that's actually the blue buff over to MMD instead of Lulu, who was in the wrong place. So they give that to Gangplank instead, perhaps to help him farm just a little bit better, as they really need him to stay farmed up here. And there was actually a little bit of a farm lead for RD for most of the early game, but Night Lord Never Loses can't defend this turret because he was chunked out so hard by Chawi, and Chawi certainly has his number, but that barrel is only going to find one out on Albus, and that's the turret down for HQ. And Flash Wolves actually getting the last Rift Herald and making absolutely nothing of it. Because that's the mid lane turret down for AHQ. Due to some very aggressive poking from Chowie. And that's really the only thing that's turning the game in the favor of AHQ right now, is just the inability for Never Loses to avoid getting damaged right before the enemy team pushes up to their turret. MMD gonna find Mountain here. He wants this fight, actually. Mountain gonna jump right out of the barrels, and he's not gonna get any barrel detonation off of that. Alda, meanwhile, attacking MMD, but Karsa and Ziv, though, around the backside. Mountain's very low, but so is MMD. That's the Lantern to save MMD's life. That's the ultimate from Maple, or onto Maple. Poppy actually popping her back to the team, but that is the first kill. On to Mountain, over to Karsa, who showed up to save his teammate. And yeah, Mountain definitely doesn't have the chops to fight that when the rest of the team shows up, but that does give AHQ the opportunity here to push that inner turret. They want this one. They do have the one in the bottom already, but MMD walking too far forward and into the exhaust and the Glacial Fissure. That's the culling. Most of it hits right there. Double shot for the kill and the crit. And oversteps from both sides here as Mimi Dan pays for that one with his life. Is he also going to pay for that with the turret, though? We'll have to see here, as Maple is now here to back him up. Will he repeat the same mistakes, though? He does not have the exhaust, or the Glacial Fissure this time from Albus, so they are going to back off here. But Chowie has position on this mid lane turret instead. Not going to go for that one as Karsa and Sordar show up. He's going to back in that pink ward. And Flash Wolves actually with the 1,000 gold lead after that, despite losing a man. I think they were able to take down a turret while I wasn't paying attention right there. So Maple is down 50 CS right here, but I believe they were mentioning the Spell Thief's Edge. No doubt making up some of that difference, and Spell Thieves does give quite a bit of gold towards the end of the game. I believe something like 2,000, 3,000 extra just from that item alone. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see those gold numbers a little bit closer than you might imagine from the farm statistics. Karsa on the defensive here, but Maple is there to back him up. Ghosties do catch Albus. But the Dragon has spawned yet again, and there's no more Rift Herald to trade this time, as Baron's going to be spawning in 20 seconds here. They simply don't have enough time to finish that one off. Sword Out going to meet the end of the spear. And is that going to give AHQ enough of an edge here to take this Dragon? Because they definitely want it. Electing not to go for the Rift Sculler there, Mountain going directly on top of it. Blue Trinket to scout them out, but that's 4 people strong from AHQ. And Flash Wolves might want to fight this. They're too late, though. That's the smite away from Kindred. And Chowie with plenty of zone control to keep the enemy team out of that area in order to make the safe retreat. And Poppy with the Sunfire Cape, wasting no time at all to push it in that top edge. But Gangplank wants to fight this one. And still elaborating on the farm differential for Maple, who is being pushed to the side lane to try to get some farm onto him, but he simply can't make up the difference right here. But that's 2 dragons so far for AHQ. And Maple, yet again, not able to find the chance to farm because of that. Attempting to make the movements around. RD wants this fight against Maple. Maple can run away very fast. Is actually forced to ultimate. Flash from RD though. He can't catch up to this Lulu. Oh, but that was a huge cooldown. 2 flashes burned though. So I'd say an even trade. But Maple with quite a bit more cooldown reduction is going to get his ultimate back a little bit sooner here. But that is a bigger cooldown. I don't believe they'll be fighting anytime soon based on the rhythm that this game's been adopting. But a valiant attempt by RD right there as Lulu definitely caught unawares. Perhaps with the blue buff, she'll do a little bit better this time. But we'll have to see what this time decides, or ends up being. As Chawi, well aware of the enemy team, decides to back off into his own. Does this give Flash Wolf's positioning on that turret? It seems like it may, but their minions are way far behind. And instead, that's going to give AHQ the opportunity to head up towards MFD. He does get tagged by the Winner's Bite. Will he get stunned? He does have the... No, he doesn't. Doesn't have to heal to be able to get it out of that CC, but that's actually the teleport to defend Chawi from his aggressors, and Flash Wolf's not able to find anything in return as Chawi was able to use Emperor's Divide to push them away, but that does give Flash Wolf's positioning onto the middle turret here. Smite Flash Kick onto HQ, but the Resonating Strike also missing. And Civ wasting his ultimate on some minions, but that's going to route Flash Wolves away from the enemy turret here. Chawi is still alive, he has soldiers to engage. Flash is forced away from Flash Wolves. HQ does still have the ultimate. There's a Glacial Fissure missing on everybody. Sword Art flashes on top of it. The culling to catch them. The tickling rather on the edge a little bit there, and that's Flash Wolves making a successful retreat here. Actually, no. Kindred is still coming around the side. She may have enough to catch them off guard here. Albus, goes down to the Glitter Lance. Wow, a wonderful play by Maple right there as Ziv finds out that his support is dead, forced to run away here as Lightlord never loses on the chase with the Silver Speed buff, but Chawi does have the zoning with the soldiers right here. This fight is crazy. It's been going on for half across the map now.
我觉得闪亮测得漂亮，然后 AHQ 其实可以继续往前追的。
And AHQ definitely did have the opportunity to keep going in that one, but Flash Wolves, Maple did have the blue buff right there, always topped on the mana, always had the speed up available, and Never Loses still had the Sivir ultimate as well. But ultimately a 1-for-1 actually. Albus, after going down to that straight Glitter Lance, tying it up for the Flash Wolves here. And Flash Wolves still not able to get that middle turret that they were aspiring to 30 seconds ago. And so a nice salvage by HQ right there to defend the middle turret after extending so far up in the top lane to try to get the pick on MMD. But here's the replay. That Glacial Fissure just barely catching Sword Art and slowing him down, but not able to make the impact that they wanted. And Karsa is a little bit deep right there, but Albus is way too low to follow up. And Pick sticking around just a little bit too long for Albus' liking. Caster's noting that if there's a little dragon following you around, it's probably not too good for your health. And the Serix Gage and Devourer enchantment coming out for Mountain though, but that's the kick onto Albus. He is very low right now. The heal used to save the support right here from RD, and Albus is still not dead yet. Karsa though might die now, lands the Resonating Strike onto Cut. They both go down. Illusion finding the kill. Maple's very low, but he's going to be able to make it out of here now. Chawi flashing forward. The Emperor's Divide to divide the enemy team. RD now coming in back with a Vengeance to avenge his support, and that's 4 kills for RD, and that's the immediate Baron for HQ. I don't know if they're going to be able to do this one. Lamb's Respite actually used for the heal right there. They do have plenty of damage in the Azir and RD, who is on fire right now. No tanks right here though. Alton almost dies, but is able to secure the Baron. And this fight, or this game just completely explodes as Karsa tries to make the play, and instead gets played, blowing a lot of those cooldowns onto Albus while the rest of his team was so close behind him. And we'll see that replay here again. There's a Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike as he decides to go for it after auto-attacking the Ward 1, thinking, okay, Maple's here, I'm gonna go for it. The exhaust onto Maple saving Albus' life, no doubt, as RD is here to back him up. The Glitter Lance barely missing, but Karsa able to thread the needle with the Sonic Wave once again. Goes down for his troubles though, and this kill, not able to go into Maple, is not gonna save anybody right here, as Flash Wolves is still in a very bad position as Shabi is here, survives the assault from Poppy and the ultimate Emperor's Divide. to dismantle the enemy team. Oh, the push forward and the culling from RD to try to finish off Maple yet again. But Maple is a survivor, has not died yet. 2 close calls within the span of minutes. But that is the Dragon for AHQ now, the 3rd one for them so far. Flash Wolves not able to recover after trading that first one for the Rift Herald. This game very quickly starting to be in the favor of AHQ with that Baron buff. A solid 2,000 gold lead here, though. Have to see if they're able to hang on to this one. But remember, those inhibitor turrets are already down. A Baron buff on AHQ is very dangerous right now for Flash Wolves, as it's very hard for them to defend a turret that isn't even there. We'll have to see what AHQ decides to do. They're not grouping around it just yet, trying to draw Flash Wolves away from their open inhibitor as Chaobi continues to push. And here's Albus walking forward, daring Karsa to go in on him again, as we all know how well that turned out for Flash Wolves last time. RD, though, finally gets positioning on the inhibitor. This is going to be the inhibitor for AHQ if Flash Wolves can't find it in them to engage. And that's it, they're not going in on this Baroned up team. Oh, Night Lord gets chunked down by 2 auto attacks from the soldiers. And again, Night Lord just not having a good game versus Chaobi. Definitely hates his guts right now. There's the cannon barrage to try to stop the retreat, but there's no engage from Flash Wolves to follow up.
但现在的Chaobi装备非常好，然后在蜜弹这边的话，他们应该是说闪亮这边该怎么去把整个会战打起来？因为以刚刚系统战来说的话 ，LBS 已经可以承受住对方的。
And AHQ now refocusing their efforts on the mid lane. There is a middle turret here. Only more for them to take as Mountain gets hooked in, but Sword Art doesn't have the damage to finish him off. Mountain's going to be forced to pop the Lamb's Respite, and that kills the fight for Flash Wolves, as they're still focusing some efforts onto this mid lane, though. The split fight ultimate is Albus is 1 versus 3 on the enemy team, and that's actually, whoa, so many kills going down all of a sudden. As Chaobi dives way too deep to try to finish off Alu, who does end up going down, but that is still the turret. Overall, a very good trade for AHQ, but that is 2 for 1, though. That's another death. AHQ may die completely here, as Ziv just barely dodging out the Sonic Wave. And wow, in exchange for the turret, they take 4 kills. That was very, very sloppy from the side of AHQ. I could see what they were trying to do, but simply wasn't enough. As Albus attempting to hold off 3 members on his own did work for just long enough for them to get at the turret. But of course, against the likes of On the Hunt and Whimsy, you can't run away from that team after overextending that much. And that's Flash Wolves going to be taking their fair share from that as they return turret, though. Ultimate whiffing completely. Never Loses not actually having a spell shield. That Ziv gets hooked in, and a ton of CC later around him, flashing out of that one after getting kicked into the team by Karsa, but that's the teleport out from Maple. There's a double teleport on the enemy team, remember this. And that's 5 people strong from Flash Wolves. They want to take that return inhibitor, but Albus is still there to try to be a nuisance. Does he have his ultimate? No, Glacial Fissure not up, but Charvi is full health, and Chaobi's in full pursuit. Glitterlands, though. Ziv around for the flank, the flash immediately from, and the Wild Growth, but Ziv, oh my god, way too far in. Not able to pick up the kill after running into 5 members of the enemy team. But meanwhile, the super minions taking down the enemy base. And that's way too much time spent outside of the base by Flash Wolves, as the last... What happened? Did the inhibitor respawn? No, the super minions deciding just not to finish off that turret, and a very lucky break from the Flash Wolves, or for the Flash Wolves. And there's that hook on the mountain again, but you can see right here, 2 people from AHQ going off one way, and the other... Now, RD actually caught him between 2 worlds. He had no idea what to do right here. It's spending his time attacking barrels instead. But looks like AHQ refocusing, but Albus goes down before they can actually make a plan. And that's 3 people way too far past the turret to try to pick up that kill onto Maple. And Ziv can't run interference well enough to save the rest of his team right here. As Mountain goes down to the Ricochet crit, RD dashing in to try to finish off Never Loses, can't find it. And Ziv indeed making it away with his life, but they do lose the inhibitor turret. And that's 2 open inhibitors for AHQ, but doesn't compare to Flash Wolves actually being down 1. And Baron and Dragon both spawning within 2 minutes. And with such open bases, I can only imagine that it's going to result in a lot more than just a simple trade if they decide to go for something like that. Flash Wolves and Sword Art and Karsa looking for the pick rather. Albus finds him immediately with the Winter's Bite. 5 people strong now for AHQ. They want that top inner turret, which all this time has survived with a 3rd health left. And Maple's far forward. They don't know he's... Yeah, they do. Now they know he's here. But that's still 5 people strong, though. Only 4 from the side of Flash Wolves. Teleport is open for Gangplank, but not fast enough to make anything happen. Instead, he's deciding to keep on pushing here. Did see him flash that recall for a split second there. But AHQ back off after taking that turret. It looks like they need another, they need something along the veins of another Baron buff in order to keep pushing towards that inhibitor turret up in the top lane. And this Azir is doing tons of work for AHQ right here, almost flame horizing his opponent in just a few minutes here. May just happen. Actually, very similar scenario from the side of Flash Wolves with Mimi Dan. Up in the top lane versus Ziv, who has just not been able to find anything, but does have his 2 core items done, which is really all Poppy needs to be in effect. Up in Sword Art has to flash away from the culling though. Glacial Fish is going to find him and the knockup from Poppy, but that's the engage from Flash Wolves back on. Cannon Barrage on top of the entire team. Ram's Wesprit to save almost everybody's lives right here. That's so low, but HQ finds the better edge of that team. Emperor's Divide actually forcing away anybody that could save the lives of Karsa and MMD right there. Well played by HQ, and Azir showing his chops. That Azir is just way too much for Flash Wolves to deal with right now, as he is dictating these fights so hard. That's another Baron for HQ. And all this time, still only a 3,000 gold lead for HQ over the Flash Wolves. This game very close, but HQ having the edge in all of these fights. It looks like if Xiaoyi is able to play well and play these team fights the way that he should be, then HQ is simply unbeatable. With Albus flashing forward to try to get the stun on NL and Maple. The teleport coming in. Double teleport though. No, that's actually the Lantern, and that's Sivir going down. I saw 2 blue lines there for a second, got really confused. But Ziv's teleport is still up. Doesn't have to use it to get the advantage that his team needs to take down that inhibitor once again. And that's 2 open inhibitors on the side of AHQ, but Flash Wolves not able to convert. As NL gets caught out after a very hefty effort from Albus to secure that one. Oh, and Ziv way far in the enemy base to try to draw away some attention here from the mid lane turret. That's HQ walking towards the Cannon Barrage to try to clear out some of the wave, but no doubt, no engagement. Hook barely missing, if that's going to give them the edge. RD though, dashing forward for some hits, not going to find the fight. 2 inhibitors down now for HQ. And that's very close to the end of the game here, because their 1 Blast Nexus turret is no doubt very low from that earlier fiasco with the Siege minions, but here comes the last fight. Flash Wolves want that last fight. Carson not able to find the kick though, gets CC chained to death. MMD now walking a little bit far forward, and NL is dead too. If MMD goes down, that's 4 kills so far for HQ. And Sword Art is the last one alive. That's the ace for HQ. That's no doubt the end of the game. Triple kill for RD. And this RD, this fellow that I've never heard of, definitely showing up huge. And a name that I'm going to have to be paying a little bit more attention to here. That was a very scary showing by RD. But the rest of his team playing very well as indeed. And Xiaoyi just so much control over these team fights. And Flash Wolves wanting to play their run at and engage strategy, but it doesn't work when you've got a huge wall of minions or a huge wall of soldiers in your face. And Karsa trying to make that last Lee Sin play at the very end, instead runs into a face full of CC. And really, the only saving grace right there for the Flash Wolves in the Gangplank with that huge lead over his opponent, not able to convert that into meaningful amount of damage for his enemy team. I think a big part of that was Lamb's respite, simply denying a ton of damage that Gangplank would put out in an AoE, and offering so much safety to his team. And there's the key player going towards RD. 10-1 and 4. I believe a quadra kill and a triple kill.
这个会战的一个3连杀加4连杀，这个虽然说投资理财有赚有赔，要详阅公开说明书啊。不过这一场投资 RD 真的是最正确的选择。
RD 在上一次出赛的时候也有一个 delay 的 quadra kill， 所以他几乎是每一场上都至少是4连杀一次。对，那这边的话，我相信
pointing out that the last one was more of a delayed quadra kill,
得点让 RD 拿到了 key player， 而且还连带的带走了胜利。那我们进广告休息。
and very well deserving of the key player award for this game.
这边不敢继续往后作战的后方的 TP 亮了起来，这边是利用大脚一踢，不过 Mountain 的这个神阳神器有开了起来，后面蛇蛇把他勾了出去，加上这边留在了后头，这边金爪还可以尝试夹，不过没有想到反身杀 Elvis 神阳杀200滴血了。
测得很漂亮哦，
卡塔盾眼回踢，梅普身上套了虚弱，后面是 RD 进场，这加了炮弹幕放了下来，就几句话套在卡塔身上，这边想来强上小叶，但是小叶拖的时间非常的久，还是收掉，在尾端是利用了 Q2 踢死了这一只 Elvis， 不过后面梅普也残血，这边重攻往女开了起来，这手指才这个空被推了一下，大概这边已经倒下情况，这边 RD 收到了3个击杀，第4个击杀。 拿到 quadra kill 之后还可以来做这条发龙哦。这边是他们起来，这个摩提斯的这个被动魔法的护盾已经大技都已经放了起来，后面扎线的进场，李明蛋被套了救急电话，这边还活了下来。不过奥利这边上来反身做这个2塔，不过中路的阿血这边是被 Maple 给秒杀掉，然后后面开始要掩护队友撤退，回去刷了一下帮的残血，LMS 的实时弹射，哇，这个暴击195刚好把金爪给得手，这边交了闪现，但逃不掉，日本利用冲撞再加手的裁决是敲飞了2个人，后面用手手刷了一下，都在这个窄口里面，看一下 Maple 能不能继续从后续拉打，但是阿血伤害非常的高，这边已经是有2-3个闪电流靠了这个护盾，想拉鬼灯笼，但是被壁咚了起来，被卡塔踢到之后，卡塔往前，但这边是直接被壁咚在了这个塔的残骸上面，卡塔惨死，这边 L 加闪现之后 ，RD 往前硬打，哇，2个 AD carry 的护点，但这边是由 RD 得胜，拿到一个双杀，都继续往蛇蛇身上坐过去，RD 再拿一个人头。